from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased. Joining me from Amsterdam, Jan van Schuppen. Jan, thank you very much for being here with me today. The way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests, to introduce themselves, but I'll give a teaser to the audience. We're going to talk about a lot of topics related to startups. We're going to touch on AI. We're going to touch also about Jan's work with, working with startups and CTOs and so on. So without further ado, Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mehmet, for having me, and welcome everybody. So my name is Jan van Schuppen. I'm a sales entrepreneur. I've been leading global sales teams for the last 30 years, especially in business to business and with a near focus on learning and development and SaaS services. I exited a company 2 years ago, and since then I've been building my own learning platform, mainly through the usage of digital avatars. And I'm coaching startup founders to find the revenue faster because everybody is always really stuck on their product. But there's actually really good ways to go to market faster and find the revenue. So that's what I'm trying to help.
Great. And thank you again for being here with me today, Jan. Now, you mentioned something and you called yourself or described yourself as a sales entrepreneur. I loved it, right? So from mindset perspective, how is it different? Because, there's a common thing that they tell a founder that they need to have. But when you say I'm a sales entrepreneur, so how this different from being a traditional entrepreneur or founder?
Well, first of all the ideas that boil up in my head always start with with the revenue model usually. I see a chance. Usually I sell first and then try and produce the product later. Let's see where is the opportunities, move fast on that, and then get into creative mode on, do we have the right solutions? Do we know the right people? Maybe it's somebody we need to refer in our network or something that we want to start off ourselves. So the sales entrepreneur is really always, I'm on the sales part of it. I would never build any products myself. So I'm always gathering a team from the start, somebody on the tech side, somebody on the finance side. I'm really bad in finance. So I'm the sales part of the entrepreneur side.
Great. Now I'm gonna ask you two questions one by one, right? And they might contradict each others. Okay. So the first thing, like you just told me about, all your career you've been into the sales game, right? And you just exited the company. Now, if you look back, what do you think like one of the core principles in sales that have never changed?
One of the things that was taught to me when I was a kid coming up in sales is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, meaning you need to listen twice as much as you speak. A lot of people think that if you're verbally strong or if you can convince people or if you're a great storyteller, you must be a great salesperson. But a good listener is often a better salesperson.
Great. And now I'm going to ask you, what is, the world is changing very fast, right? And everything around us is changing. And I know, like you have said, because when I was preparing, I've seen like, some of the things you've said, like sales might never fundamentally change yet, everything around it change, right? So what can, or let's say people who differentiate themselves in the marketplace, and I'm talking about like people who are in sales specifically, and let's focus also on people who works on startups, right?
Right.
So what is the main thing that they also, they need to change to evolve, and be up to speed to everything around them?
Well, I would almost say it's always been like this. We always had to get used to all of a sudden. For example, during COVID, a lot of people that used to do client visits had to get used to doing the 50 Zoom calls a week. So the adjustment has always been there. It's just the technology is jumping so fast at the moment, and the developments are going really fast. It almost pushes us that we need to rethink our own position and think, does the job that I have in the current setting, will that be the same in 2, 3 years from now? And most likely the answer is no, not really. So we need to start changing there and getting used to new technology. I mean, I just turned 51 2 weeks ago, but I still have the feeling I need to reinvent myself because I have 20 years of career in me still. So I need to prepare.
Absolutely. And happy belated birthday, by the way,
Thank
Jan.
you so much.
But I love this. People asks me sometimes, what's your biggest, or let's say, what's the thing that keeps you up at night? And I always tell them one thing. I'm 45 almost. I tell them, I always manage to keep myself up to date with everything around me.
Right.
And my biggest, fear, let's say, is that technology accelerate more than what my brain can take. Because if I'm not up to speed, and I do this for the same reason, Jan, you just mentioned, I want also to be relevant, right? It's not like because I'm afraid to lose a job or no, but because I am curious by nature and I need to understand what's going around me.
Yeah.
So this is the reason why. Now I'm gonna come back to the more the technology and what you've done with the digital avatars. But before this, just also because we need to clarify something. So Jan, today you help fellow entrepreneurs and mainly CTOs and other leaders, and you're the founder of Ideas in Spades. What I'm curious about, like when people come to Jan, like when they reach out and they say, Jan, we need your help, and what kind of help usually you provide them?
Right. So we do have a fairly standardized 6-month training program for startup founders. The generic learning points are usually fairly applicable for most of them. But of course, we do a long onboarding and intake to see where we need to adjust or for which parts we need to put more focus on. Some founders just really have no idea that they could call an old client and ask them to test their product. And other founders are camera shy. They don't want to be on LinkedIn saying how they got to this position. So we're going to fine tune a little bit. Where is the pain points and where is the quick wins? But always, all of it has to lead to qualified leads and good sales conversations.
Cool. You came to a point which I want to ask you about, and for the sake of transparency, we're recording this on 16th of May. Probably you're watching it at beginning of June. For the audience, I just shared today something, and I want, as someone who's with that experience like you, Jan, I always talk that now time changed a lot, and especially if you are a founder, you need to be in front of your customers, in a sense, not only going and meeting them, also on social presence. Like you need to get these proofs. Uh, how do you find, founders who might come and say, Jan, look, I understand. I can see like other entrepreneurs are doing it. But does it make me any results? I have a great product, I will build and people will follow, right? What do you tell these people, Jan?
Well, the beautiful quote, if we build it, they will come. It is the classic startup thing. No matter how good your product is, if you have no marketing and no sales, then you can turn the lights off. And over the last few years, founder branding has been quite crucial in social media. The problem that I see, and I also see that we're kind of at the end of that period, luckily enough. But the problem is that there existed all of a sudden a new profession, which was content creators. And the only thing they did was produce 1 million videos on how to produce videos. And if you are a founder of an accountancy startup, or if you are a personal trainer and you want to be in the gym and looking at all these videos from these professional content creators, it's just going to make you nervous. It's going to, disencourage you. Or you try it 5 times and then you have 10 views and then you go like, well, this is not for me. It doesn't work. So the misconception that entrepreneurs must become content creators, I hope we're at the end of that, because that is not the case. What is the case, however, is that sales is still fundamentally built on trust. And it is very easy nowadays to build trust on a platform that doesn't cost any money, that with the new technologies shouldn't cost you too much time. And you can start building a small group of fans that will start paying you money. But again, circling back at these content creators, every entrepreneur that doesn't get 1,000 followers thinks that they failed on social media, which is not true. If you have 500 followers and 80 of them pay you good money, why would you need more followers? So getting away from that content creation, yes, it is still important to do good branding. And people trust founders more than they trust the actual company. So it's not, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying just stick to your own profession. Be an accountant. Be a fitness coach.
I love this. So, some people, I cannot blame, by the way, sometimes the founders, because the amount of noise that is outside there is really confusing. Now, I like to behave, or let's say to react based on empathy more than, just rationally. And so I try to understand both sides, but I'm always on the entrepreneur side. So the entrepreneur might be, opening, he or she, they will open their feeds and they will see 2 points of views, right? Or even maybe 3. But let's take 2. So the first point, that what you just mentioned, Jan, right? And there's a second one that say, hey, forget everything, build a outbound machine that, follow 1, 2, 3, and your business will be on steroid. I don't like to say, or like, I'm not big fan of these big titles that say, okay, like X thing is dying because of AI, or like the next generation of marketing will be X. No, because in fact, no one knows. But to be like a little bit reasonable and to be also getting the experience, how do you see from marketing perspective, is it like more the founders who gonna be showing themselves online? And again, I like when you said it's not about the number of followers, not even about the number of impressions and likes. It's important who seeing you and paying you. But is it like, or is it more like, no, I gotta hire someone, do outreach for me, and I know like this is an old strategy that used to work. Maybe it's still working. People called it spray and pray, and let's see what happens. So from your perspective, is it like still we need to do a combination of all these things? Because people would see different of these content creators pushing for their own methodologies. Me as a founder, imagine me as a founder, I came to Jan and asked you, Jan, okay, how do I choose? Which one is the right approach for me? What do you tell me?
Perfect. Well, actually, I had a conversation this morning with a co-founder from a company here in the Netherlands. They created 2 really cool HR products, ready to go, plug and play. And I said, so great, how many clients you have? Well, 0. Okay, so why did you build these products, and based on what? And so my first thing would always go like, are you sure there is an audience for this? Did people tell you, yes, we need this by this and this day? Is there urgency? Is there an indication that they will actually pay you money for it? because you can come up with a beautiful solution and say, my startup is going to do ABC, and you're going to get 100,000 people saying, wow, that's really cool. But that's something different than when you've actually built it, that they will sign a order confirmation. So I must admit, most of my own expertise is in business to business and SaaS and enterprise sales. So if you would have a one-off consumer e-commerce website and you're selling T-shirts online, that's not really where my advice would go. But if you have a business-to-business startup, what we would do first is look at what are all the potential channels, because sales is not just about one person having a conversation with another. Because yes, there could be a leading strategy, but there could be sales partner channels that you would have. You could have affiliate partners. You could work with an influencer that gets you qualified leads. So there's a whole scale of possibilities to feed that machine that you were mentioning. But what most people underestimate is that there is a huge phase before that. You have a go-to-market point, but what you want is you want potential end users already test casing the product. And this is what I usually teach the startups that I work with. It is a perfect way of creating a pilot phase, approaching your low-hanging fruit, people that you've known for years, people that would actually have this problem that you're trying to solve, and explain them. Say, listen, we are in a startup phase, but we're looking for people to test our product. Why don't you test our product for a while? If you like it, these are the conditions to keep it afterwards. And if you don't like it, then at least we got some good feedback to work with. So nobody loses. It gets you off the train station right away. You get real user feedback. These people feel really special because you involve them. So they'll feel like brand ambassadors. They'll always almost feel morally obligated to continue to work with you. And you're already able to set out future conditions and pricing based on the promises you make before the pilot starts. So you can start today, but people have the feeling that first I need 5 months to build my HubSpot funnels and qualify and then do this and do. It's great. All the technology exists. But if you're a startup, what you need is speak with clients today. And I want to speed that up for people.
Again, I love this. Yeah, and this is wisdom for founders, I would say, because either I've seen people overcomplicated things or completely and blindly following certain playbook without even understanding, when to use this playbook. So,
Yes.
and this is, I'm happy because, there are like experts like yourself where they can guide the founders, because I refer to multiple things. So of course, you have first the idea. I liked your way. So when you even come with the idea, even before building the product, it's good to see how you're gonna sell it, right? So yeah, map, the business model and the distribution. So if you have that clear, I think when you build the product, that makes it easy. And then I always refer to him. I hope one day I would have him on the podcast. So there is one figure very well known, Steve Black. He's one of my idols in the
Right.
startup world, right? So he talks about going out of the building. And I tell people, like, yeah, you can sit in your garage, whatever you want to call it, and build the best tech ever. But you go out and you figure out that no one wants it. And the reason is because you didn't go out of the building. And now you can actually go out of the Zoom meeting or Teams meeting and then
Yep.
try to talk to people. And yeah, like to your point, Jan, you can start with people people who you think they might have, and start validating your idea and see actually later start validating the product. Are they willing to pay for it? And just for people to know, and Jan, you know this because I've been in B2B also all my career. So
Right.
the way we do it is we give trials, and actually, if the company is very very still early stage, these trials might go for 1 year. By the way, because you
Yep.
need continuous feedback on the hope that first the product works, second they like it, third I loved also what you said, because today I summarized all this in my post, so it's this like we had like this like same mind and just you mentioned this, and then you build a community, and then the community will start to refer to you if you're doing something good. So absolutely on that, Jan. Now, here I want to come a little bit to the tech and
Yep.
about the scalability. So how do you train sales teams to, because everyone want to scale, you need to reach as much as possible, so AI comes to mind. So how you train sales team to blend the power of these tools, the automation, but at the same time keep the authenticity. And we know there's a lot of debate, let's call it, in between people, I would say, about AI messages and not authentic and all this. So
Mhm.
how you train salespeople to take care of these authenticity issues?
Well, personally, I find all tools that once used properly can be great. And even if somebody on the other hand knows it is automated or AI assisted, but it is delivered well, then people won't notice. If it is delivered sloppy, then you will get an extra annoyance because then you know it is AI that was sloppy, and then you think it was twice sloppy. But the person didn't want to do it himself, and then the AI output was sloppy. So therefore, if you do something with AI, make sure that the output is really good. Um, Compare it with the old days, you would get an email newsletter from the newsletter database. The Startup Hero, he probably has his own newsletter. You get it still every morning, Monday morning. You still read it, but it's an automated newsletter. You didn't complain then, but now all of a sudden you see that text has 15 emojis in it. You go like, oh, the ChatGPT wrote that, and then you don't take it serious. So what I teach people is use it, make sure that you use it properly so that your receiving partner always have the feeling that you still paid attention to. Now, I call it the 595 method. Um, Everything that you put into your tech, the first 5% you need to hyper focus. We need to make sure the parameters are right, the prompts are perfect, the training files are good, everything is done right. But after that, you can kind of let go. Whether it's the automations, whether it's agents working together, or even if it's just your team members. Your design department needs to call your cybersecurity department and all of it. So leave it be. And in the end, when they say, well, we're almost done, focus again for another 5% and fine tune and find the things that you still want to tweak. But that means that overall in a project, whether it's an AI or an internal project, your only required focus time is 10%.
Yeah, yeah. uh this is why we need more people like like yourself, Jan. I believe, because um people are not understanding one thing. So I think they are looking at one corner, I would say, of the whole thing, which is, as you said, it's full of emojis, and like, look at the dash. Now they are talking about the dash.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I tell people, look, like, we know why the dash is used, so it's like a longer pause. Like,
Mhm.
it's like, right? I said, like, look, like, we can't blame ChatGPT because it's written by ChatGPT, and I'm very transparent. I said, guys, I need to rely on ChatGPT, especially when I started to have like the podcast, and I have kind of a presence online.
Right. Of
I'm
course.
not a native English speaker, so I go to ChatGPT and say, hey, like, can you proofread this?
Same for me.
And and by now, ChatGPT more or less knows my style. And sometimes, it suggests few things and say, hey, no, 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 you're not putting my style. This is not me, right? So,
Right.
uh, so
Yeah.
actually, but if I think about it, the automation and the power of AI, it helped me a lot. And I tell people, look, but you can see me because it's me. And I'm gonna relate this to the next question. It's me who was on the podcast, you
Right.
know, it's not an AI. but,
Not yet.
but, but here I'm gonna ask you something, because you're doing some work on the digital avatars also.
Yes.
And you're partner with the Hygiene. So tell me, where is the opportunity here and the intersection between AI, sales, and content?
I think it's limitless. I ran across the technology already in 2022 through a client I had from Hewlett Packard. We kind of were done with the meeting, and then he said, "Oh, Jan, by the way, look at this tool. We're using it internally. It's like it was a management trainee group in Washington, and he shared his screen, and all of a sudden there was this lady, and she started speaking to me, and I was like, okay." I dove into it right away, and ever since 2022, I've been doing my cold outreach emails with digital avatars. After a client meeting, if I'm sending the follow up, everybody is used to sending the nice PDF slides.
Yeah.
Dear Mehmet, thank you for the meeting. Attached are the PDF slides. Please share them with your boss so we can look at the pricing. We all type this meeting, this email 1,000 times, right?
Yes.
Nowadays, I only send videos. And then it will be exactly the same slides, but it will have me as an avatar next to the slides explaining with my voice clone what the slides are about. And now all of a sudden, the contact person who receives the video thinks, hey, this is cool. Let me share this with my boss. I've never seen this before. So not only does my current proposal get more attention, you right away can position yourself as being innovative and creative and different than others. So it's been really doing a lot of great work for polishing up my sales routine.
Cool. And what kind of partnership like you've got? Like, do you help other companies to I mean, let's say founders or executives to create their avatars and start to create their content? If you can like shed some light on this, Jan.
Yes, of course. So I started building my own learning academy based on my own 30 years of experience to help some people out, but also to train my own sales teams. Um, but I don't want to spend that much time recording all these training videos. So, of course, we're using also my own avatar for product creation in this case. And for that, we use HeyGen, American company. And they were so impressed with the progress that we made that I got to meet the CEO. We had a great conversation. He said, oh, we're looking for creative agents. But I'm a salesperson by origin, so we got to talk about his enterprise sales goals. So now we are a reseller of HeyGen because that's where my specialty comes in. I help SaaS startups, even if they're already funded like HeyGen. So we do a lot of enterprise sales for them. And then once these clients are onboarded by HeyGen, they might have operational questions, they might need inspiration, or they might need technical assistance. And that's where my company Ideas in Spades comes in, because they are really avatar driven. They do all the creative work, they do the YouTube shorts and all of it. So that's really to help the clients get the most out of the HeyGen technology.
That's great and good to know. Now, one thing, because we're talking about sharing content and sharing knowledge, another debate, if you want, or another thing that I talk personally about it also as well, is the algorithm of these platforms. Mainly, if you are into B2B, you're gonna be on LinkedIn mainly, right? And we see sometime, change in algorithms, and the same founders, I see them like complaining. And by the way, I do rants sometimes also as well, because I believe, but of course, I gotta tell you how I, think about it, or the mindset I have.
Right.
Of course, I need to hear your point of view. So, algorithms, and I had like a guest, Horton, on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he explained to me actually how these algorithms are designed. Yeah, right.
Right.
So how to have the right mindset to ignore the algorithm and just focus on the content. And again, as someone who trains and coach and mentor startups, Jan, what do you tell people who also you work with?
Well, one of the main things that a lot of people have forgotten about, but it's really gold that most companies and even startups already have. And if you don't have it, there's tools like Clay and Apollo to get you up to speed. But building a good email list, and we talked about it earlier, the newsletter that you receive every Monday morning. But an email list doesn't need 100,000 subscribers. It needs 25 subscribers that are in your interest funnel. I don't like the word so much, but everybody understands it. Um, so getting good content, if you can send it out to 100 people that know you, trust you, and like you, and might eventually buy your product, that is going to be much more efficient than posting it online on Monday morning at 9 o'clock when 19,000 other people are posting content as well. It's one out of 19,000, or it's you versus your 100 email receivers. The chance of conversion is much bigger on your own small network, if you will.
Right.
And so getting people to subscribe and making sure you share on different platforms. And sometimes even if you have a really interesting piece of content that you think is relevant for a prospect, that is another great moment for you to reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, my company just made this little video. I had to think of you because you told me last time you also have this challenge. Here's the link to the video. Please let me know what you think. So even if this was a cold email, it would already sound friendly and is outreach. By the way, you can automate this and you can do like 10 every 15 minutes. But I'm guessing that if you have a small group of people that you personally know, creating content can be a laser tool rather than aspiring for 100,000 likes.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, so I will tell you my mindset on this. So first thing, people forget that content is evergreen, right? So evergreen in a sense, not in the content itself, but I mean it's on the internet. So
Right.
if you try to put some love in what you do, people will find you somehow. And trust me on this. I've been doing the podcast now for almost 2 years and have trust me on this. I tell the audience.
Right.
If so this is first, second, consistency, and to your point, yeah, not giving up fast.
Right.
And the third mindset, which is like kind of, I would call it philosophical, is I go because for me the podcast, let's say, or like whatever I share, of course I have something that I want to promote, but the way I think about it, especially in the sense of LinkedIn mainly, which is my main channel, I
Right.
say, okay, listen, if I put a piece of content, so maybe let's say instead of hundreds of thousands of people seeing it, maybe a group of 10 people will see that, right? And out of 10 people, 2 people will get inspired by what I shared, right?
Right.
And I say, you know what? Bingo, this is what I aimed for. If I manage to, and think about from business perspective, to your point, if you manage to get like out of, I don't know, thousands of, contacts to have like 10 people to reach out, and then you convert from these 10 people, maybe 3 or 4 to be prospects and possible clients, here you go, right? So you don't overcomplicate. And I think the name of the game is also having the patience to wait, and which I think, yeah, I can understand young founders, they are in rush, they want to see results quick. It doesn't happen overnight. And even AI and automation can, of course, it can help you to spread it more, but it doesn't help to get results faster. So sometimes you need to just wait. And again, think about that you're trying to help someone, and if you are a startup founder, you're solving a real pain, and actually people would need also you to help them sorting out this pain. So think about the bigger goal, the bigger aim, the purpose, why you're doing this. So this is my 2 cents on this, but I loved also your approach, Jan. You want to add something?
No. I agree. I do agree with the sentiment from founders that the algorithms on LinkedIn it feels like they're changing overnight. Some people that I know really well never see my content unless they literally go to my profile. And
Yeah.
so there is a few of these, but at the same time, let's not pretend that we cannot have a business without LinkedIn. You have a telephone in your pocket, you can call people, or like you
Absolutely.
mentioned earlier, you can go outside the building and you can meet people and tell them about your great startup.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Now, if I want to, ask you, Jan, to have, of course, like no one can predict 100%,
Mhm.
the the future. But
I-
how do you see, like this sales motion being shaped in the future? So of course we are seeing great things now. We're seeing AI used to automate the whole outreach process. You talked about what you do also with the avatars and personalizing the follow-ups and even also the outreach, also the content creation for getting the inbounds. How do you envision the sales to be in the future with more AI coming out?
Mhm.
And I'm curious to know from your experience. We talk about us, I mean, the ones who are trying to sell a service, product, whatever.
Right.
What's happening on the other side of the table? What the buyers are doing in that space?
Right. Oh yeah, that's always an interesting one. Well, first and foremost, more tools, and if you have smart tools and you use them smart, should always increase output. So everybody who's scared, that's great, but then you aren't using it. Give you a great example. I have a designer, and I train her a lot on using the custom GPTs that we made internally, how to make her own planning, but also how to find new clients for themselves. And so it has all these commercial elements. And then she is in discussion with other designers in her network, and all of them go, "Oh my God, we're going to be without a job. AI is going to take over the world." And she goes like, "No, actually, I've gotten much better because of it." And I see the same in sales. There's a lot of people that have been used to monitoring inbound sales requests and then forwarding it to another department and then high-fiving with the other department during coffee. You're going to be out of a job in 6 months. And that's a lot of people. And there's no way to make that sound any nicer. But people that now pick up and start, hey, you know what, let me use these things to become better in what I do and to amplify what I do, uh, those will be on top of the barrel, drifting up. I don't know, there's a Dutch expression for it. We have a lot of water here, as you know. But that's not only for sales. It's going to be in medicine. That's in graphic design. That's in um, I saw that Audible. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Audible is now offering a service where you can fully use, probably with 11 labs done. You can just pick and choose whoever you want to read your audiobook. You don't need to do it yourself. You don't need to rent a voice actor anymore. So whoever was calling themselves a voice actor, 2 out of 10 will still have a job. You're going to be hired by Universal Media and by the BBC. The other 8 will not be hired anymore because 11 Labs can do it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the classic 80-20 rule, I think 20% will become very good in what they do, and the other 80% will need to reinvent themselves.
Absolutely. And while people see this sometimes negative, right? And in a sense they afraid of it and so on. I
Mhm.
see it very positive because this is, and I was hearing something, I think if not today, yesterday. I was listening, on my way in the morning for the drop off on the radio. Someone saying like, I think in accountant or something like this. So more of these folks, they want to be in the entrepreneurship game, and I
Mhm.
think AI is facilitating this. I don't think we're gonna see job loss in the sense of people losing their source of income. It's like maybe people will be more ready to go and start their own business, and of course
Mhm.
It's not run 100% by AI, because always you're gonna need people like Jan who comes and coach you on the performance, on the sales, and the go-to market and content. You're gonna need someone who's good in training engineering, for example, and how to manage engineers, and so on and so forth. So we will end up by having more entrepreneurs. And this is to your point, Jan. I'm not worried about AI taking any job. Uh, yeah, of course, but we have something to do, is to elevate our game and try to
Yep.
to learn it. And it's a fact, like it's here. I remember this term, I used it a lot with my guests, like the genie is out of the bottle, we cannot
Yep.
put it back, right? So
Sure.
no way we can go back. This is really fascinating discussion with you, Jan, today. So before we come to an end, any final words of advice you want to give fellow founders? And of course, my classic questions, where people can find more about you and learn about what you do more.
Perfect. Well, let's get that out of the way first. You could either find me on janvanschuppen.com, and from there on, you can find links to my companies, or on LinkedIn. So that would be straightforward. Ideasinspades.com is online as well, if that's your go-to. So yeah, no, I think the last two things that you touched upon are quite crucial. The way that people work will change drastically, and not as much that we don't need people anymore to be involved in the work, but if I saw a really interesting discussion. I think it was what's his name, Batman, the most recent Batman actor. Um, so he explained the threat of AI to the movie industry. And he was very honest. He said, maybe it shouldn't take thousands of people to render a movie. So if you are in technically movie making, it is horrible. Your job is going to change. But maybe it's good. Maybe we can use technology for these things. So it's not necessarily always a bad thing. Maybe some things are obvious. You mentioned the accountant before. There has been some really big scandals that have cost KPMG and EY and parts of their reputation. Their stock prices dropped. All of it because five guys on a golf course, said, we'll do it like this. And AI won't do it like that. It will control and it will be checked, and all of that within 15 seconds approximately. So there's a lot of upside. But like you mentioned, we do need to realize that whatever work we're in, not all of us will have the luxury of staying in the same position.
Absolutely. And this is also something to the audience to get inspired by it, I would say, right? So don't get afraid of the AI, embrace it, I would say. Yeah, really, I appreciate, the discussion today and all the insights and all the information you shared with the audience today. For the audience, you don't need to go and search. I'm gonna make the life easy. I'm gonna put all the links that Jan mentioned, so you can find his LinkedIn profile, his website and the company. Also in the show notes. So if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll find it this description section. Sorry. And this is usually how I end my episodes. This is for the audience. If you just discovered us by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed. If you did so, I need a small favor from you. Please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. We're trying to, share knowledge with as many people as we can. And if you are one of the people who keep coming again and again, you are one of the fans. Thank you very, very much for your support. Thank you for everything you do for this show to stay alive. And I'm motivated by what you do. The reason I'm saying this, because I'm repeating at the end of each episode, maybe since the past 2 or 3 months this year, is phenomenal for the podcast. Because of you, we are able to be ranking in the top 200 charts in multiple countries in Apple Podcast in the entrepreneurship and business category. This is not because of me, it's because of you. And of course, thanks also to all my guests, including you, Jan. Because without this, I couldn't do this. And also, the podcast is being selected as one of the top 100 global tech startup podcasts by 100 million podcasts.com. And also, I've been chosen very luckily as top 40 most listened podcasts in Dubai in the business category. Again, this cannot happen. It's not me, it's you, the audience. Thank you very much. Keep your questions, suggestion coming. And I like also to read your feedback. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as I say always, we will be again in a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.